welcome to the Royal Geek Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Rollison, also known as T-Roll, and you already know it. I'm here with my good friends. First of all, to my left, Justin Sandoval, a.k.a. Sandy, and to my right, we have Anthony Amato. We like to call him Shamato. Boys, it's good to be back with y'all. We are here to talk about Andor, exciting Star Wars series.
Yeah, very exciting.
All the Star Wars geeks and nerds are going nuts.
Yeah,
and, we're here for you.
A lot of high praise, absolutely.
Yes.
You guys will notice, listeners, viewers, that Markham is not here, our resident Star Wars expert and super fan. Zach, hope you're feeling better, man, and I know you're sad to miss all the action this week.
The episode just blew his mind that hard.
Yeah, well, that, and he didn't learn a lesson about eating food at a state fair. So that's on him.
There's a reason why all their food is fried.
Yeah. Rough. Yeah. It's rough.
Man, I haven't been to. Actually, I went to a fair maybe a couple years ago.
Yep.
I think had it been before COVID, I guess. But I said COVID. We should probably move on. So, we're here to review Andor episode number 4.
4.
What's it cald? I don't even know.
Aldhani.
Yep.
What's it called?
Aldhani.
Oh yeah, that's the name of that planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it
okay.
is. Look
Great.
at you go, man.
Hey, man. I'm on fire tonight.
Yep.
Big shout out to all of our listeners, all of our viewers, whether you are watching on YouTube or if you are listening on Apple or Spotify or somewhere else. We really appreciate you. We want to please remind you to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're taking it in. And, leave us a review, leave a comment. Those things help us out tremendously. They really, really do. So we really appreciate you guys. And with that in mind, I think it's time.
Yeah, let's do it.
To give a spoiler warning. Here's your spoiler warning for episode 4 of Andor. Boys, what do we think?
Yeah, I'm loving the show. I really am.
Yeah.
The first 3 episodes dropping was a really good, I don't know, like lead into what this show's going to feel like and the tone.
Yeah.
And this 4th episode kind of like doubles down on that, man. It's got there's definitely like political workings going on.
Yeah.
And I actually really enjoyed all of the detail that was coming out of the Empire's meetings, like the political aspect of it, right? Like, and how weird was it seeing like the Empire like meeting on a planet? Like we've always seen them on starships and destroyers and all that kind of stuff, and like here they are, they have like a home base on a planet. Like that's like, and not just any planet.
Yeah. Well, it was really cool just seeing like the inner like squabblings of the Empire as well.
Right.
Like, because for the most part we see the very top, and in general, there's like maybe 1 or 2 people who are really in control, and everyone else is just kind of following along. Like, whereas this is a very like, more of a mid-level meeting that seems to be going on in this council, and you're kind of seeing like you said, the political like machinations and the way they're trying to maneuver and get themselves into better positions too. Like, it isn't even about like, moving the Empire's interests forward. It's about, it's almost like seeing a corporate environment in a way, where it's like they're trying to move their own like coin in their own value up. They're not necessarily they are trying to help the Empire, but only in the way that they're trying to make the Empire help them.
Yeah, and the person who was like kind of leading the meeting, like he was like so Empire, like he was like he belonged there, like he was extra Weasley, and you really, I mean, you can believe that he was somebody up.
Oh yeah,
high.
like 100%. Like he very much seemed like he would fit right next to like Tarkin and all the the admirals and stuff like that in this environment. So it was pretty cool seeing that go there, and seeing all these people try to backstab each other and undermine each other, and like, oh, this is our jurisdiction, like that kind of stuff.
Good stuff. T-Roll, what'd you think, man?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I think it was interesting seeing Luthen. I had no idea who he was, right?
Right, yeah.
And I still don't really know, but apparently on Coruscant he runs a business for like specialty collectibles,
unique things. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's his front, and I was really amazed because I wasn't sure. With the fact that he was going to Coruscant, I wasn't like, is he some sort of delegate? Is he some sort of senator, whatever? So that was interesting. And again, I did not see it coming
Oh yeah, I know. Like his little transformation, the character.
Yeah.
Like I thoroughly enjoyed that scene when he's putting his wig on and he's putting the rings on, and then like when he gets his entire outfit
His
on, and then
demeanor.
he twists his
a
hand
smile
and he
on.
puts a smile on, and like he's changed. Like he's
Yes.
100% changed.
Yep.
And then even when you see the interaction later on when we get Mon Mothra coming in the scene, and he's just like, oh hey, how's like
He's
very
lighthearted.
Yeah.
He's very
Yeah, they couldn't have picked a better actor for this, man.
No, it was great.
Stellan Skarsgård, he
Yeah,
always knows how to freaking make a performance, man.
Yeah.
He's been doing a great job so far.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like just seeing like that transformation into this, generally lighthearted person.
Yeah.
It almost kind of reminds me of like the Nolan verse, like Batman type of idea, where like his real life is his mask, where in being Batman is his true self.
Right.
So that's kind of what I thought about as well. Is like, oh well, this is really his mask.
Right.
So that was really cool seeing him, and he was just like, he was so different. It was like
Very different.
It really was like he was a different person than what we saw.
Because we had just saw him in that scene where he's dropping off Andor on the help with the mission, right, to try to convince him, and like he was very in control, and he was very like. This is what's going to happen, and you're going to do this, and you're gonna like this is what we need to happen, right? Like and then he changes to this persona of like somebody who's like very boisterous and like he's very elegant and it was just strange to see it initially, but then once it happened and you're like, dude, this rocks, man. This guy is he's in the rebellion, like he's truly putting up front to help the cause. Yeah.
Once again, it kind of reminds me of a lot like a superhero, like transformation. Like the idea of the way you present yourself can make such a difference. It's like it's kind of like always the argument about like Superman as well. Like it's largely about his demeanor. Like he acts so differently when he is Clark Kent as when he is Superman.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. And he did kind of pave the way in like starting that mission for Andor, and I enjoyed every scene on the small planet of was it Aldhani or whatever?
Aldhani,
right? And just the core of people. They said you're going to be joining a team, and then like they're already up against him because like we're so close to getting this mission started, and we're introducing a new person.
Oh, and
to
you
this.
can't blame them.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd be freaking
absolutely,
out too.
Yeah.
And the skepticism there, and then like Val, I believe, right? That was her name.
Val, I think.
Yeah, Val. That's right. She had to kind of convince them by making it think it was her idea, but it really wasn't.
No.
But it's strong performances by all those characters. Even like they all had like a type. Like you've seen those types before in like heist movies. Like there's the overly aggressive one, and then there's like the very meek one who's just there, kind of who knows what for, right?
Yeah,
like
the new young kid who's
he thinks like he's there for
believes
a cause.
the best in everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
The mentor,
right?
The guy who like wakes him up, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, and like I mean, it's completely understandable when you think about when you're the resistance, like any person, or in any type of like rebel force or anything that you're seeing throughout history. Anytime someone outside of your like unit that you directly know, it's very suspicious. You're like. You get very antsy anytime anyone joins, and with it being so close to them pulling off such a large mission,
Yeah.
I mean, I completely understand their their apprehension about who Andor is.
And how could they not have some apprehension when they like she comes in? It's like, oh hey everyone, this is Clem. Like Clem. Like what of all the names.
Also, just a terrible name.
Absolutely
Clem.
horrific name. Like
it was terrible.
I have confidence in a guy named Clem. Right. Like that's this guy's gonna lead us through the mission. Right.
You know what's so interesting is Luthen. Like he only went to get Andor because Andor had that piece of tech that he stole. What was again the?
Well, he even says in the episode that's not why he went there.
But he was prompted to go there because of that.
Yeah,
like if and Andor was in a rush to make that meeting happen. Remember when he's talking to old girl?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't even remember her name either. Sorry guys.
We don't.
Biz?
Too many shows to watch right now to keep up with this stuff. But
and they all have hard names too. Like
dude, freaking. Anyways, but this mission was 3 days later. Like he drops Andor off and they've got 3 days. So it's like. It's so interesting because this was like a top recruit for him.
Right.
Yeah.
But, like, none of this would have happened if Andor didn't call out to sell this item in the exact moment he did.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just no way, right? Like, Luthen's not just going to go there. He was waiting for the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
he
it's
timed
just interesting
it. Yeah,
to
he
think
knew
about
that.
the timing of it all. You know,
And the kind of like the speech he gives about like I wasn't there for the product, like I was there for you and that kind of thing. Like, I mean, was he just saying that to blow smoke, or was he actually? Did
what do
he
we
mean
think?
it?
Let's make a call right now.
I'm gonna have to say I like the idea of him meaning it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he's like one of those guys. I almost feel like he's like a recruiter, like literally like
a college football recruiter.
Yeah, like college football recruiter, but he's like that. He's that college football recruiter who like watches from like the gate that's hidden behind the shed, and is like he doesn't want anybody to know that he's actually scouting this player, you know. And he's like been watching him from afar. Mm-hmm. He's like, you know, reading a newspaper in the cafe because he wants to see how he acts towards like the waitress when he's, you know, after a big win. You know, he's really trying to understand that character, understand this kid. Like, that's kind of how I think that, because I feel like Luthen's been like had his finger on the pulse of Andor as a character for potentially a while.
That's
I think so.
I think it's a great analogy, by the way.
Yeah.
I can see that 100%. And like the rebellion, like they're starting up. Okay, this is like this is really the inception of the rebellion, really. Like, and the great thing that I'm seeing here is that we are getting kind of like the backdoor dealings and like the nitty gritty on what's going to drive this rebellion forward, and they're not afraid to do things that are questionable. Like, I mean. When he says, "Well, what are we stealing? What are we doing?" Right, and he's like an entire quarterly payroll of the empire
of this sector.
Like, how wild is
like
that,
how many
man?
sectors are there? Because I can't imagine that this is like a small amount of money.
No, I doubt it's probably a pretty significant amount of money.
I was hoping that the heist actually happened in this episode because like the way they hyped it up, I was sold, man. I'm ready to watch it. Next week's gonna be pretty epic. I hope.
Yeah.
I really do.
It's got to be. Yeah, and Star Wars always does a good job of showing you what the mission's going to be before they do the mission.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you always get some 3D layout or some computer program. Or
they literally have mission briefings before.
Yeah.
We've seen it in every trilogy. Like, it's there. It's there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm telling you, man, I don't think I've been more into just pure dialogue of explanation than this show. Like, they do such a good job of kind of like capturing my attention. Of it may not be actiony on the scene, like no fighting going on, but just the way they are going about painting the picture for us on the turmoil of their universe, of their galaxy that they live in. I'm completely invested in the story. But the funny thing is that there are some reviews out there saying that they're not into it, and it doesn't feel like a Star Wars thing. And the funny thing is that
hold on. There's some members of the Star Wars fan base that aren't happy with the product that just came out.
Exactly, right. But the funny thing is, though, as I'm watching it with my wife, right, and she loves Star Wars like 100%, right.
Yeah.
But she is for some reason not clicking with the show. It's too wordy for her. Too
real.
It's too. I mean, honestly, I don't know. Every time I ask her like what she thought of the episode, she's like,
too wordy.
It's okay. Like, it's too much political, too much talking, too much.
Kind of like the prequel series.
I will say, anytime you talk about political, it kind of has like a negative connotation when it comes into the Star Wars universe because of the like trade agreement stuff that went around in the prequels.
Yeah.
But I mean,
all the board meetings.
I feel like what they're doing is they're like trying to show you like the disconnection that the Empire is having with the people at the time, and like how they're squabbling over this stuff that doesn't really matter. You know, and while people are suffering to like an extreme extent. Which is what I think they're trying to show you is like they have no idea what's actually happening in their universe, in these sectors.
They didn't see the genocide of the Jedi. Like, they didn't see that. Like, I mean, they heard about it, but they like there's systems out there that didn't actually like see that take place. Like Coruscant did. Like Coruscant saw that.
And like I would like to just go back a little bit and just say I wasn't sure how I felt about them dropping 3 episodes to start, but especially after seeing this episode, the first dropping those 3 episodes was almost like watching like a a setup story. Like this, it was all about setting up, and then now we're getting to see the real story. Like this, it was all background pretty much, and getting all the pieces into place up until the end of the third episode, and now they're really like it's almost like his life is about to begin. It's
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm a huge fan of the multi-episode drop.
Yeah,
I mean Amazon does it better than anybody out there, but I'm glad that Disney's getting the action. It is a little hard for us as we have to consume this before we decide to record on it. But however, I think it does wonders for the storyline because we are able to see the 2-episode combination of the development of the characters. The big thing about that for me, Andor, the 3 episodes, it set the tone. I mentioned this at the start of the episode, and the tone of this is this is Star Wars for adults. They're not playing around, man. This is it gets dark, and it kind of stays dark with a lot of the themes, and the dialogue in this Star Wars TV show is a lot more I don't know, mature adult. There's less quippy dialogue like Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan had a lot of quippy dialogue through Ewan McGregor's performance, and nothing against him. That's his character. His character, he kind of speaks that way. However, this is real stuff that I feel like
in a way, the Jedi can afford to be quippy because you can just pull out a lightsaber and just annihilate a whole bunch of people or use the Force to be able to do stuff. Whereas if you're living in the real world, you kind of have to sometimes fight. And I really did love. I loved how when they were in the camp area and they dropped a huge name they dropped Saul Guerrera, and I was like, ooh, that is a big name. Because that was when they were trying to show all the stuff that can happen because of if our part falls apart, this could hurt the rebellion, and or if someone bringing in this person is not who he says he is, either we fail the mission or he ends up being someone who isn't reliable and is giving information to the Empire or whatever, and then they drop the name Saul Guerrero. So that's always an interesting play because he's probably one of the most famous early resistance fighters or early rebellion fighters.
Yeah.
And is one of the most notoriously kind of hard people to get along with in the universe.
Yeah, and somebody who's always there to kind of face the Empire head on. Good stuff, man.
I feel like something that I want to applaud with Star Wars, or at least with most of the shows, maybe all of them, I don't know, but it always feels like the stakes in Star Wars are so high.
Yeah, I get
make
that.
sense?
Yeah. I mean, when we're dealing with galaxies and we're dealing with star systems and that kind of stuff, yeah, I mean, it feels that way. But you're right, the way they deliver it, yeah.
Even more on like where Andor's at, we're in this campground in the woods, it feels like the stakes are so high for these 6 or 7 people, or whatever.
Because it feels so high because of they do a good job of setting up where they are at on the power scale, and so that helps adjust. They can be doing something that is relatively small. For all we know, there could be 1,000 sectors. So stealing a quarterly for a sector may not be the biggest thing ever, but because they do a good job of showing how they are living at this point and just visually showing that it's these 6 people and they were already short a person. And just by saying they were short a person, that is saying they didn't have another person to add. They are so small right now that everything that they do, every person that they bring in has to be fit into that line. And so even doing something on a single planet in this one moment is all of a sudden a monumental task.
Yeah, man. Very, very well said. And especially when they're gathered around, talking about the mission, talking about everyone's role, and then they're like, "Are you in? Are you committed, man?" He's like, well, "When we start, let's go, let's get this going." I feel like Andor is, he's us. He's the everyday man, right?
Yeah.
He's you want to do something good with your life, right? That's people aspire to that. They want to do that, and here Andor is he didn't really. he didn't really know what the good was that he wanted to do. However, he just knew he didn't want to be in the situation he was in. And I feel like that's we can all relate to that. Like we don't really know the situation that we're in, but we do aspire to do something greater. And he has that moment here.
Yeah, I think he's trying to like wade through like what is going on. He kind of got thrown into this situation. He doesn't know. Like he doesn't understand. It almost kind of reminds me of the beginning of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where Skye is all of a sudden like thrown into the S.H.I.E.L.D. situation where she like for example, she wanted to do good. She was she was trying to do good in her own way, even though it was outside the realms of law. And then she kind of got pulled into something greater than herself and became a very important part of the team. And that's basically the kind of pathway that it looks like they're taking Andor on.
Yeah, and he's also similar to that. He's like such a non-trusting person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could just tell he just doesn't trust people, and he seems difficult to work with. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, he does, but he seems to be playing his role.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't seem, in my mind, like. And again, I'm not him, but if I was in that campground, I'd be like trying to convince people, like, "Hey guys, like you could trust me." Yeah, and he almost doesn't give a rip.
No, think. He's there because he has to be.
Yeah, I think it's that, but I also think it's a little bit. He may understand in those situations, being that person that's like, hey, you can trust me, is kind of an untrustworthy thing to do. It's like it's almost like you're trying too hard.
If you have to tell somebody, if you have to tell somebody to trust you,
hey, trust me. You can trust me. I'm not going to do anything to you guys. Just trust me. Just trust me.
No, but even like, just talking, if you would just like communicate with him, he's like not even saying anything. Is my point. Like he's not even being like a person. Like he's just being quiet and
Well,
that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's not like he needs to. I'm not saying he needs to say, "Hey guys, trust me," but it's like do things to earn trust. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also he's trying to read the situation. Like he is, it's kind of the idea of you watch and you learn before you open your mouth. Like if you're trying to be, especially in those situations, you try to be smart, and the more you can learn before you say something, the better.
Yeah, and you could see they're trying to test him too, because they were sitting around the campfire, and then immediately the one guy is like, "Oh, so tell us how you're gonna do that." He's like, "Can I finish my food first?" Like he's like, "Give me a moment here."
Yeah,
and there they are. They're already testing him. They're already at him. Like, what's your motivation? What's your driving factor?
Yeah.
And he's just so nonchalant about it, and like you're right. He doesn't give a rip. Like he's there because he knows what he wants to gain out of this mission, and it's obviously the money in order to help him find his sister, because that's still going on. We may not have seen or heard that storyline of his sister like actually in this episode, but his motivations behind what he's doing is because of his sister and how he can help find her with the money that he's about to earn from this.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's gonna be a driving force. And like back with the way I became kind of thinking about with Luthen, been watching it for a while, it kind of makes me almost think, like, is his mother somehow involved? Like, is there something there where, maybe she was at some point some sort of an associate of Luthen's, or she has,
Andor's mom?
Andor's adopted mother.
Figurative mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, was she somehow involved in some sort of...
Minerva or Marva?
I think it's Marva.
Yeah. Well, if she was involved in some sort of either like shady dealings, I mean, it looked like they were doing some sort of like scrapping or something like that, or whatever they were doing, like looting whatever the ship or whatever on the planet. So I mean, maybe he was her contact for moving goods, went back before, so I have a feeling that maybe she has some sort of connection with everything that is going on as well. It could, be the reason why because yes, Luthen may have had an eye on him for a while, but like, I think she could be the reason why he even knew that he existed. Cause you got to remember, we're also in a galaxy. So it's like billions of people, exactly. Why is he clued in on this one person? It would make sense if there was some sort of a connection there that, kind
of points him to
Andor,
yes. Yeah, again, unless that chick from episodes 1 through 3, again, I'm sorry I don't remember. Bix, yeah.
How can you forget, bro? Come on.
Unless Bix is like working closely with Luthen and she's like letting him know, like, he's a recruiter, but she's
Yeah.
like the regional recruiter.
Yeah.
Like
he's the head recruiter, and she reports
Yeah,
back to him.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only problem I would have with that idea is I don't feel like she had, unless she's an unwitting recruiter, I don't feel like she had enough of a like understanding of the situation. Didn't seem to have really like the idea to be able to be that kind of a person. Like,
well, I don't know. I mean, they insinuated that they've done some dealings, like that
Yeah,
Bix and
yeah.
Andor had like run some missions and
yeah, but I don't feel like
together.
she had like the way that she was talking with Luthen and I didn't feel like she was like that type of a person, like that she was a runner of some sort potentially, or that she had done missions with somebody, but not necessarily that she was like a pipeline recruiter that was, potentially the person that was like, hey, like keep an eye on this
I mean, I
person.
kind of gathered that she's more like a broker, and like she kind of used Andor to get some certain items that then she could flip to Luthen. Like, so I feel like he's always like, oh, how did you get this? You knew I needed it, and then she's like Andor's the one who does it for me, and so then that's what put him on the radar to put the eye of Luthen on.
Yeah,
him.
like I was saying, she could potentially be an unwitting recruiter, but I don't think she was like a purposeful.
She wasn't pushing Andor.
Yeah, I don't think she was a
situation,
purposeful recruiter of any type.
yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Fair statement. Yeah, and another thing that stood out to me, like we mentioned, like when Mon Mothma came into the scene, but like just Luthen and the fact that they were trying to distract the driver, and then they're like, yeah, I'm getting a new one assigned like every so often, and the loops they all have to jump through, and especially like the scene where Luthen and Mon Mothma are talking, and you can see in the background his associate is kind of showing him some other things that would distract him, and they're having that conversation of like, well, I don't know, like how we're gonna get through this, like that kind of stuff, and the deception and the secrecy and all. Like, I really feel like that's really the mystery of how they're going to accomplish and get to where we saw in Rogue One is going to be pretty fun and exciting to see them get to that point.
Yeah, because it really is like a stressful idea to be these people who are literally working within the system to take the system down. Because at every single moment they could be caught and have no escape. No escape plan, or have their entire life or way of life burned to the ground, essentially. Just like being, it's sort of like Senator Organa. Like, it's very similar to that in a way, to where like everything that he was doing to underhand the Empire once it became into power is very similar to what is happening here. These people have regular jobs that they are doing, that they have families, they may have children. I mean, I don't believe either one of the people involved here have children, but there are people who are involved with the rebellion who have children who are, it's a high stakes, one mistake, one person that from the rebellion that cracks and it burned all the way down, and you could end up just having your completely life destroyed. So you have to be so committed to what is going on, and it kind of like shows with that little campfire scene, like every person that they pull in has to be 100%, has to be solid to be beyond any reproach, because any single one of those steps can be the end of not only your life, your family's life, your family's lives, so many, and your race's life. Like, it's, as we saw for Cassian, like one moment basically ended his entire race's existence, and like he knows better than anyone else when you interact with the Empire that, it could be over in an instant.
Yeah, well said, man. Well said. And that's really showing the power of the Empire, and the reason the rebellion is pushing back so hard is because they understand the importance of what they're doing to keep the Empire from having that like supreme rule over everything. And it's really affecting like all the galaxies, and that's what they're there for. That's the rebellion, and like that the driving force. And so I am really excited to see, because I didn't think I was gonna like this show because of we saw how Rogue One played out, but where they are in the time frame of the rebellion, like I mean, literally Rogue One ends when they're handing off the Death Star blueprints, right?
Yeah.
So from where Andor begins, which is what we're watching, and to where he gets to in episode 4, essentially, right? It's gonna be so exciting to see the in between. And what's the time frame on that? I'm not certain.
Yeah.
I know like 2 seasons for sure of Andor, but it's gonna be great watching the progression of each episode and even the season to get to that point of they're literally handing the blueprints off, and there they go. I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool because we're seeing kind of like the spark of the rebellion in a lot of ways. And you're seeing like they've pushed it further enough back in the timeline to where they have a little bit of room to build his character. They didn't put it like right on top of, Rogue One, so you do have a little bit of time for him to interact, and it will be interesting to see how he interacts, and eventually ends up with K2 in conjunction with K2SO and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be really fun. I hope we do get some interactions with K2SO at some point. It'll be really awesome to just see that.
Who doesn't want more Alan Tudyk in their life, right?
Yep.
Like, yeah.
I mean, he's the king of the nerds.
Yes,
in my opinion.
Truly, yes.
Yeah, totally.
T-Roll, the least interested Star Wars fan right here.
Yep.
But
Sorry,
you're digging the show though, right?
It's been fun. Yeah. It's been good.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's there. And
I love a good rebellion storyline.
Yep.
I mean, I love all the spy espionage stuff. So I'm in. It's just hard for me, like with the amount of things we're watching right now, to have much to say. If I'm honest.
No, I get it. There's a lot going on.
I'm sorry, I'm bringing the vibe down, bringing the mood down.
Man,
here, man.
it's okay. Like, just let me and Shimano do our thing. Okay.
I am. I'm sitting back, literally.
Yeah, you're the host, and we're just content providers. That's all. No big deal. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess closing thoughts here. I mean, I really I just said I'm looking forward to seeing where they go. This heist it better be epic. Like, I feel like. If they can't execute that, it'll be a pretty big.
Imagine
letdown.
this heist. It's probably let's assume it goes well.
Yeah.
And then that security meeting that the Empire had. Mm-hmm. Imagine how mad that dude's gonna be.
Yeah. I hope we see him again. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. But it's gonna be. He would probably be furious about that because he was there, first one on the scene. Like, he was the one who called it, predicted it, and now here we go. It's happening, and they're already casting him out. Like, it's wild to see. But I do hope we see him again because he did a great job in his arc, his first 3-episode arc.
Yep. All right. So I do have one question for you guys. Do you think that the female Empire agent that was at that meeting, do you think she is a part of the rebellion?
I'm gonna say no.
No,
because of the fact that she was pressing the issue. Because if she would have left it alone, that saying that a piece of her equipment went missing in a key strategy, and if she just would have left it alone, that would have been more telling as far as that she's in the rebellion.
True, but if you remember, this was in somebody else's sector. So think about it this way. It's sort of like you see something go wrong in somebody else's department, and you're like, I have to find a way to take control of that situation so that I can then be in control for when we need to misdirect something. So
okay.
it just as a possibility.
That's a very good point. I wasn't thinking that, but
I mean, I don't know, for the first time I saw her on screen, I had the feeling that there's something maybe that she might be a part of the rebellion. Now, that could be wrong.
Right.
And she also could just be that person that's like, that's sort of like the what was his name? The guy that was originally, or one of the guys that was Fulcrum.
Okay.
Originally. So you know how he was basically like just always chasing them down? I could see her being kind of like that idea, like the agent that is like just hounding on them, like just always searching for them, that she just unrelenting and always kind of there. Kind of like the fourth sister from Obi-Wan. Like that was
maybe she's just actually guilty of what she's accused of like being a tryhard.
Yeah.
And like caring too much about her personal career,
Yes.
That's what I took from it.
So I could see it being that way too, but I just thought, just throwing that out there as a possibility that she could be potentially part of the rebellion.
I will say, in light of, in light of the screen time she got, and they like showed her walking in, and like the camera's focused on her so much, like she could be like an ally. I could see that.
It could. Yeah, I mean, she could be. I wasn't thinking that initially, but now that Shamato has you made that statement, she's on my radar now. She's like, I'm like, okay, it's possible. It's a possibility.
We'll see. Well, boys, I think we're about done for Andor episode 4.
Yeah.
Good
Great.
stuff.
I'm looking forward to this series.
We will be back next week to cover episode 5.
Mm-hmm.
If you're enjoying it, please share this podcast with any of your Star Wars buddies, Star Wars friends. Leave a comment, leave a review, subscribe wherever you watch or listen, and come on back next week. So with that in mind, for my good friends Sandy and Shamato, this is T-Roll saying thank you so much for tuning in to the Royal Geek Podcast. We will see you next time, you peasants.